water, earth, fire, and air. This works, just ignore it. These 4 elements all lived in harmony until one day a rogue airbender named WelcominTV, who was also a YouTuber, kidnapped the people who lived in these 4 nations and then forced them to build beautiful civilizations, elect leaders, and then fight each other at the end. Now you might be wondering, why would a man do such a terrible thing? Well, it was for a YouTube video. And so, I present to you 100 players simulate elemental civilizations in Minecraft. One thing you should know about all of these nations is that there's actually a chest hidden in every single one of them. And you might be wondering what's in this chest. Well, the chest would contain riches and then an enchanted book with all of these enchantments listed. I knew this because I had found the enchanted book hidden away in the Water Nation.
What the heck?
And once the Earth members were let out, the person to find the enchanted book at the Earth Nation was Sharper, who would gain access to all of the loot. Meanwhile, the Fire Nation, most of the players weren't looking for this enchanted book, which allowed Bread, Toast, Burnt to get their enchanted book. Seeing my chance to get rich, I mined the diamonds and iron blocks that were hidden away in this water temple, and then I went on my way. And while I was mining away, communities would begin to form in the Earth Nation and the Water Nation, all united at the fact that they just needed stuff. Now, although communities were forming, it turns out that no one was mining in this community, which meant that this stranger who was wearing half iron armor was actually the strongest out of all of them. At first glance, you'd actually think that the same thing applied to the Fire Nation, but you'd be wrong, as the Fire Nation actually created a ginormous farm, and they had a lot of players mining and gating them resources. Now, while communities were forming in the Water Nation, Fire Nation, and players were slowly gearing up, it actually turned out that the Earth Nation hadn't really done much, and instead they were focusing on the election event, which was coming soon. At least some Earth members had brains and actually went mining for iron tools. Speaking of iron tools, about 30 minutes in the event, I actually had full iron armor and 2 stacks of iron, so I headed to the surface to supply my army, as I made furnaces and then smelted all of the iron that I had. It actually turns out that I wasn't the only one who was gearing up, as rumors of diamonds being at the top of the Fire Nation volcano began spreading across the Fire Nation, and so they sent players to the top where there were actually diamonds waiting for them. Now you might be like, oh wow, the Water Nation has iron and the Fire Nation has diamonds, what could the Earth Nation possibly have? If you had guessed that the Earth Nation had done absolutely nothing, then you would be correct, as the Earth Nation hadn't done anything and decided to prioritize the election event. There were actually a ton of people who thought that they could lead the Earth Nation, but eventually after a extremely bummy election, the leader would end up being Cypress Gaming. And after becoming the leader, Cypress Gaming would get this netherite crown, had tons of enchantments on it, making it extremely overpowered. And while that was going on, I was getting apples. Why was I getting apples? Because I had so much gold that I decided that I was going to make some golden apples, so that way I could actually heal myself in case I needed to. I was also waiting on my 2 allies, Arrow and Swerving, to arrive, so we could discuss some things for the futures of the Water Nation. But a problem arose, as we wanted our plans to be secret. Eventually, players actually started showing up, and that was not okay with us.
Hello, I didn't even notice you over here.
But apparently that little kid showed up at the wrong time and actually ended up falling to his death.
What do you need?
I'm being framed for crimes that I did not commit.
Yeah, I just saw trees get beat. Oh!
Wait a minute, 1 second.
It was
Oh.
Sir Steve.
Oh, that guy just died.
No way!
After that kid's death, me, Arrow, and Swerving began discussing a very controversial topic. Since I had the enchanted book and we had all the resources for an enchantment table, Swerving proposed that we grind the book away and get rid of all of its enchantments so we could make an enchantment table.
There's no other books on the map. Survivor just told me.
Yeah, there's no. There
You know what
are
you have to
books
do?
on the map.
Sharp 5 it is.
No, get out. Okay, I'll place the grindstone. Yes, we will. We will be unenchanting that book, and everyone will be getting enchants, you understand? Yeah, but prot 1 sharp 1 is good enough. It's
And
better than a one-shot.
Sharp 5 netherite.
Sharp
Sharp 5
would
netherite.
clear
Yeah, but
everything.
one person versus 30. You will not
Yeah,
win.
it's
Dude,
me.
It's arrow. It's arrow.
Eventually, after a lot of back and forth, we decided that it would be best if we could grind the book so our entire team could be enchanted. While we were making the controversial decisions, the Fire Nation election had begun. The first person to give their speech would be Lit Gamer, who probably said something about carrying a 2v6, which he did in a WelcominTV video. Next up was Bread Toast Burnt, who definitely played the I have a godbook card and then seconds later started doing a chant. And to be honest, it probably went something a little like this. We are Fire Nation through and through, and all of our players play like poo. That is probably not what they said, but it's funny if you think of it that way. Then of course there were the other candidates, but I don't want to do another voiceover bit, so I'm just gonna speed through all of these players. Eventually we'd get to voting, and the person who'd win would be Bread Toast Burnt. Meanwhile, at the Water Nation, we had no elected leader, but every single player on our team had access to the enchantment table, which probably made us one of the strongest teams in the event. And eventually we would get to voting for our king, and I would be the one to organize it all, and this was a pain.
Here, sit here all, please.
Rain, I'm your
Everyone,
bodyguard.
this is what we're gonna do. I've got a group of potential leaders in this house. They are going to. You're gonna choose among them.
Guys, join in
after
Discord, join
this
Discord.
election. We're not joining a Discord. There's a point to
They
this.
said you need to.
We don't.
We don't.
do?
Alright, first,
Okay.
the first man you are all going to be trying to vote for is Chilgan. Stuff is Herboris, who is a naked.
I'm not naked, I'm only with my...
Okay, but who asked?
Maybe I'm not the strongest, I'm not the best at PvP, I'm not the smartest, but I can give one thing to all this team. Modesty.
It actually turns out that a lot of people thought that they could lead the Water Nation, but I decided to skip all of these unnecessary people and just bring up the people that I actually thought that could lead and make a good video.
Cool. Next up, I want it to be Arrow. I feel like he's gonna give us
Yes,
a
sir.
good speech.
Okay, I know I'm biased, but I don't want a 5-year-old leading me into battle.
Hello. My name's Zero. You probably know me from other Civilization events, so...
Yes, sir, my
See, I wasn't the only person biased, come on.
That's why I joined this.
Yeah, so pretty much, me and Sorby have been working on the ground, and we were the ones that made the enchant table, so we contributed to the team a lot, and yeah, I think that's why we should be picked as leaders. Ooh.
That's a really good point. That's kind of why everyone here is kind of shy. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And so after Arrow's speech, he would walk off and a bunch of other random kids would go and try to beat Arrow's spot at being king. But they would all fail and Arrow would eventually become the king of the Water Nation.
You're the leader now.
Everyone on 3.
Yeah.
Arrow.
After that, and a giant speech about how we're gonna take over the world, we were then put into military mode, where then a few seconds later, Ouroboros and Arrow would go across a mountain to discuss some terms politically. But it turns out, at that very moment, the Earth Nation had come to wage war upon us.
Green.
Wait.
Chill.
What?
Chill. Go back. Go back.
Yeah,
Five-
What?
Look here! Look here!
Oh.
What?
They're attacking us! They're attacking!
Wait, who? Who's attacking us?
The green!
I'm lagging.
The green is
Oh.
attacking us!
I'm lagging. Oh my god.
Oh my god,
hit you because you are lagging.
Oh god. Oh god, they have blood chocolates.
I'm the laggiest, so I know.
Get out of here, Green.
I'm coming to help, even though I'm an iron, I'm coming to
Why
help.
is it so laggy all of a sudden? Jeez.
Yeah.
The ambush from the Earth Nation caused lots of deaths from the Water Nation, but as for them, the entire crusade of the Earth members ended up getting wiped out, including their king, who we would eventually corner and kill. Ferocious that we had been killed unexpectedly, when survivors from the Earth Crusade came over to ask for peace, we denied it immediately and ran at the remaining Earth members and killed them off.
Hold up activation.
Guys, green team comes in. They want a team. They want a team. They want a team. They want a team.
No, they just attacked.
No.
Don't kill them. Don't kill them. Don't kill them. Don't kill them.
There's no.
Don't kill them. Don't kill them. They want a team.
No peace.
No peace.
Yeah. No cross teaming, boys.
No living.
Yeah.
Arrow, we don't need to take some arrow.
We're here for blood.
Seriously, you guys, boy, you should not have come here.
We ended up being able to hunt down every single survivor from the Earth Crusade and killed them off ruthlessly, and it turns out that the remaining Earth members, who were the more stacked players, were actually still mining in the caves. As for the survivors of the Earth Crusade who ended up getting lost, they would run into the Fire Nation, where the Fire Nation, not giving them any chance to explain themselves, killed them off immediately. Ticked off that the Earth Nation had even decided to come and attack them, the Fire Nation assembled a navy and went off to invade the Earth Nation, where they were spotted immediately and the panicked Earth Nation members ran for their lives. The Fire Nation would begin their invasion confident that they could take out the entire server, but little did they know that they were not the only nation coming out for revenge, and so the final battle of the server had begun between water, fire, and earth. This would actually turn into a massacre.
Red.
Stop running.
Stop running, boys. We're stupid. We're weak.
Go. Here. Fire.
Yeah! The Fire Nation apparently did not have their strongest players in the Crusade, and they ended up coming around to actually jump to Water Nation members, where they would kill them immediately.
This is what
Arrow, where are you? Arrow, green, red.
Get him! Oh yeah, look at him. Yeah, you better run. Oh, it's lit! Get lit. He's good.
Come here, man.
After killing the king of the Fire Nation, we would gain access to all 3 netherite crowns, and I would get one for myself, and so it was me, Swerving, and Arrow who all had the crowns. Meanwhile, at the Water Nation, we are actually attacked by the Fire Nation, who wanted revenge for their lost king. Now it seemed like our little squad was the only Water Nation team capable of winning the event, and so we began hunting down and finishing off the Fire Nation.
Yeah, run. Everyone just get out.
That's one.
It'd be much better for the video if you don't tank.
After all of the bloodshed we had caused, we had finally won.
Yo, I finally won.
I had finally won an event after quite some time of being in the events. This was also bittersweet because this was WelcominTV's last event before he stopped doing events. I was so happy to be able to participate in this event because I met an amazing squad who would also join my Discord server so they could participate in events that I would host. And so if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe as it helps me out a lot and helps me create content like this and host events in the future. Also, be sure to check out WelcominTV's channel because without him, this video would not have been possible, and enjoy the credits showing of all of the amazing people who made this video possible.
But I don't mind. You could never wear me out. Even after all of these years, you still look at me with the same love. It's just us two, but I don't mind. You could never wear me out. You could never wear me out. We have come all this way, love, so I don't see us stopping now. My life's an adventure, 'cause you came along and showed me how to love without limits, to have a good time. Now my life's an adventure,